All right, here we go. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Foreign Investment Fridays with Hector Aguilar of eXp Realty here in Los Angeles, California. Today, I have the honor and privilege of inviting my colleague, Ismael Gonzalez. He is the broker of record and the director of eXp Realty in Mexico. How you doing, Ismael?
Hey Hector, good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's
Man,
a pleasure to say to say
I'm
hello and to say
I'm
hello
super
to
excited,
everybody.
man. You have no idea how excited I am, and it's an honor for me to have you, to have the
It's my
director of
honor.
Mexico. It's super exciting, and I think we're gonna go over some topics that maybe most people that are thinking about buying in Mexico should know, and are probably having their thought a question about some of these things we're gonna talk about, right?
Perfect,
So,
perfect.
so
Yeah,
today,
excited.
what we wanted to talk about was, moving to Mexico, right? The options that it affords, maybe the destinations that people should consider, and learning a little bit about what Mexico can actually offer them, right, Ismael?
Oof, what can offer? What can't offer? What
Right?
can't it offer? Mexico. It's of course, it's my country, and I'm a little biased about it. But I'm also on real estate, Hector, and I've been in real estate for 17 years. So I've had the privilege of getting to know a lot of people from all over the world who comes and decides to live in Mexico, to invest in Mexico, to retire in Mexico. I personally live also on a beach town called Mazatlan, and we have a very strong community of foreigners from, of course, America, the United States, Canada, and other parts of the world as well. You know what they can find? It's a perfect place to retire and a very good place to invest as well for those that are not ready to retire, with a lot of
Right.
cultural richness. And of course, I have to say, the food.
Right.
Food is, for me, one of the key items that the value proposition that makes Mexico special.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone that would argue with you that Mexico's food is probably one of the top world foods that that people prefer, right? With all the different variations from mole to enchiladas to,
Aguachile,
costita
ceviche,
pibil,
right?
aguachile, right? All the mariscos in the coastal towns. I'm a foodie, right? I have a saying that says, like, if you want to know a good place to eat, they say typically don't ask a thin person.
You know what? I'm a foodie too. Can you see?
Oh yeah, yeah. You and I are going to be best friends, my friend. So,
Yeah.
getting back to the reason why we got together today, we've been seeing a huge rise, right, in Americans and Canadians buying in Mexico for many years,
Many
right?
years.
I used to work for a mortgage company back in the mid '90s that had rolled out a product to finance purchases in Mexico. We
Right.
were successful to a limited degree because at that time, I think real estate in Mexico was still in its infancy and developing to what it is, a behemoth today, right?
Right.
And
Correct.
so tell us a little bit about the rise of Americans and Canadians buying in Mexico and where you see that moving forward.
You know what? And I see it as a rise, of course, but I think it has been very consistent over the past years. I started on real estate in 2007, if I'm not mistaken, and back there, we have like a huge explosion of Americans and Canadians moving to
Right.
Mexico and the different areas. And you're totally right. At that moment, the country, I think, was starting to develop in order to receive these types of people immigrating to our land. And
Right.
it's still developing, but it's a totally different country, Mexico, right now, from what it
Absolutely.
was 15 years ago.
Without a
And
doubt.
I know, and the elephant in the room, a conversation that I've had with a couple of foreigner investors, that especially lately, that the dollar, or let's say the peso, has gained a little strength
Right.
towards the dollar. Sometimes it feels like it's getting more expensive to buy and to invest in Mexico. But I'm here to say that there's alternatives in order to make this type of purchases be sound and be a safe place to put your money into, and of course enjoy the life of Mexico. And especially after the unfortunate pandemic that we had, that represented a huge well, challenge to everyone, to all the
Well, I mean,
population
it,
of the
it
world.
wasn't it wasn't only to Mexico. I mean, it was
Uh,
global.
It was global, but
Absolutely.
however, it also, we're talking about the rise of Americans and Canadians. It also represented an opportunity, and switched the mindset on how we look at at our home in the spaces that we are in a day to day, right? Because
Absolutely.
we
I mean,
were forced to spend more time at home,
correct.
and we had a lot of cases of Americans and Canadians that took the opportunity to purchase a second home in Mexico. That usually it's a lot more cheaper. Our markets are a lot more cheaper than some of the main markets in the U.S. You
Without a doubt.
can get a bigger home, and it kind of started all over again, right? It
Right.
started all over again, especially right now. Mexico, it's a pretty interesting market at the moment. That the culture has been towards real estate. The culture has been evolving with the locals. That have been trying to, or we started to understand about the benefits of investing in properties and having them for rentals on a bigger scale. So the market kind of segmented a little bit between the people who was buying to put that property into a rental, and the people that was buying for second homes or to be primary home, which is typically Americans and Canadians. So it's very interesting how we can see both in the environment together, and the opportunities that this represents. I'm sorry, and I'm sure
Yeah,
we're going to talk in the future about specific markets, but we're really happy to see how a lot of investors and a lot of Americans and Canadians are continuing to move down here and continuing to choose Mexico as a place where to continue their life at some point. So yes, we're also lucky to have them.
And it's good to note that it's, Mexico has opened their arms not only to Americans and Canadians, but just citizens across the world. I know that a lot of Europeans are heading down to, some Caribbean parts of Mexico, and even some non-Caribbean parts. But here's what happened with kind of talking a little bit about the pandemic. I think what happened is people were kind of forced to stay in place. They realized that they wanted a little bit more space, maybe they're more yard, and they figured out, let's go somewhere where we can have a little bit more freedom in terms of where we can go, so we're not cooped up in our apartments and our condos and our backyards, right? And so they naturally started to gravitate to other countries, specifically Mexico, because of its closeness to the United States and Canada, and for other reasons that we'll discuss. But certainly it was a catalyst, pardon me, to what Mexico's real estate is experiencing right now.
Correct, exactly.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is what's driving Americans and Canadians and the reasons to live in Mexico. Let's talk a little bit about, we talked a little bit about gastronomy, about food. Number one, people love the food in Mexico. But what other things have attracted North Americans to Mexico?
It depends a lot on the locations, right? But if I have to say overall, I think that the overall lifestyle and also the communities that are now very well established from expats in a lot of different parts of our country, and the experiences that you have on your day-to-day, the ease of life, the affordability that comes with living in a Mexican city. Art is a big part of it as well. The culture, it goes up around, but this is only because Mexico is a huge country. It's a very big territory, and we have very different markets and very different cities from each other. Colonial to beach to modern to industrial. So it depends on what the Americans and Canadians are looking for their lives, right? Now with the remote work and stuff like that, we have this possibility of working from home anywhere, right? So it's nice to see that personality also matters a lot. So if we talk about a particular beach town, you can see particular personalities going around as well, and communities being formed. But
I think the different destinations that we'll go over attract a specific demographic, and we're seeing a growth in those areas, right? Correct. One of the other things that I think that Mexico has been known for and is starting to be known for is its health services.
Absolutely.
Right? What we call health tourism, right? I know I live in Los Angeles, and a 2-hour drive from me is Tijuana.
Correct.
And Tijuana, I would say, is probably the capital of health tourism when it comes to dental work, surgeries, cancer treatments, maybe even some non-traditional treatments that are available in Mexico that are not approved here in the United States. But more importantly, The target demographic of people that are either retiring in Mexico, of course, are on older age, right? They're in their golden years, we say, and they're really comfortable with the medical services that they can find throughout the entire country. Mexico has everything from a local doctor in a clinic to state of the art medical facilities with amazing surgeons, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, and we've seen this in a lot of places, especially bigger cities, but also the ones where you can find, this great health services combined with, I don't know, a lake or a beach or, this type of other experiences. We start to see a very big increase on what you just say, health tourism. We're starting to see condominiums or towers or complex that are including as part of the amenities places where the doctors come in to the building and treat the patients in their house, or they're prepared in order to put special needs or stuff like that. So it is it's a big part of our the decision point as well for many Americans and Canadians.
I can imagine. Here's something else that, sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but here's something else that I thought of too, is that when people do retire in Mexico and they have a different lifestyle, they typically have a little bit healthier lifestyle too, because food is fresher, right? There's not a lot of preservatives. There's not a lot of refrigeration per se. You can get, what we call from farm to table pretty easily in Mexico. And so that's going to also improve, your health, and it's going to give you longevity too. So that's one of the other attractive things about, moving or investing, buying or retiring in Mexico.
Weather makes a huge deal as well.
Without a doubt.
And being able to find a spot that is always warm and cozy, and you're not freezing or you're not melting. It's also something that we see a lot.
Right. And Mexico, you mentioned it has every climate, right? It has, the Caribbean, which could be tropical, right? Humid, hot, muggy, right? Warm throughout the year. Typically you want to go to like Tulum, Cancun, Quintana Roo, those kind of areas. Best times go like from November to maybe March, April at the very latest, right? To enjoy that. It also has, other climates that are cold, cooler. You have San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato. Definitely a different variety of climates that people can select and choose from, right?
Exactly.
Wonderful. Hey, so speaking of destinations, right? We want to talk about, kind of transitioning to the destinations are available, but I don't want to oversee something that's super important. I know that for most people, we talked about, legal aspects and investor confidence, right? Tell us a little bit about Mexico's laws in terms of ownership in the restricted zones, number one. Number two, the tools that are available to them to kind of overcome that. And then also the confidence that they can have in what we call a fideicomiso or a bank trust.
Correct. Well, Mexico, on a larger scale, and 80% of the territory of our country, a foreigner, somebody who's not Mexican, can own property without an issue. They can buy a property in Monterrey, Ciudad de Mexico City, Guadalajara, San Miguel de Allende. There's no issue with that. However, we do have something that's called, what you said very well, a restricted zone. That's 100 kilometers from the border and 50 kilometers from the beach, right? This from the coast, correct. These are places where you can't directly own a property, but there's, let me rephrase that. You can own the property; it'll be yours, but you have to do it through a bank trust, or what we call a fideicomiso. And these bank trusts are, very well established, has been around for a long time. We have never had an issue with it, and they're done, to a private or a financial institution, or maybe public in some areas as well. That lasts for 50 years. This bank trust, and it gives you full control of the property. It gives you, usufructo. I don't know how to say that.
It's called in English. You say right of usage. Gives you right of usage. Gives you benefits like you can will it, you can transfer it,
you can sell it.
You take enjoyment of the property just like you would here in the United States, right? But it's just in a bank trust. That's all. And that trust, if I'm not mistaken, is renewable for a second term of 49 years, right?
It's renewable forever. Once that 50 years comes in, you can renew it, and it's fairly cheap. I can't remember, but maybe like $800 or something like that. Yeah,
And the good thing is that it's something that an investor or someone buying a second home or their primary home in Mexico can leave as what we call in Spanish a patrimonio, right? A legacy for their
exactly,
family for many years to come.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
And it's important to note that Mexico did a lot in terms of improving that system to encourage foreign investment,
Yeah,
knowing that the country, um, their first gross domestic product is tourism, right?
exactly.
Most people don't know that the second gross domestic product is expats, or Mexicans living in the United States, sending money back to their family, right?
Correct.
So Mexico did an amazing job in putting together a financial tool that honestly will protect foreign investors and buyers in owning real estate in Mexico. And that is secure, without a doubt, no issues. I think that's something that most people will be happy to learn about
Yes.
and know that they can invest securely in Mexico.
Right, and it's very simple. I know when we first because I've had these conversations with many investors. When you first hear about it, it's kind of like weird, but
Right.
it's really simple to do. It's super fast. It's not a big deal. It's just putting it in, and also it gives you, because we have a lot of incentives in order for uh, foreigner investors to put their money in Mexico. You can have access to become a citizen real quick if you invest in a property, to have voting rights, to be part of the community 100%, and sometimes maybe in the future become national, so you can actually own the property, or if you have kids or anything, you can also inherit it, no problem.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, let's kind of get away from the legal aspects. I think if people have questions about that, they can certainly reach out. We can put them in touch with some legal, some attorneys there locally where they're going. But more importantly, EXP Realty Mexico has a network of professional realtors throughout these destinations that we can refer them to, and will help them purchase or at least look for the right location for them. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? Let's talk about some destinations, Ismael. Number one, the first and foremost that comes to mind is Cancun and Playa del Carmen, right? A
Great.
robust market. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about the developments that are going in there. How is Mexico supporting that community, and what do you see in terms of the real estate market there?
Well, a lot of growth, a lot of growth. Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and in that particular area in Quintana Roo, it's one of the most recognized, territories or cities where foreigners come.
I would
We do
definitely agree.
yeah, we do have a lot of Europeans as well on that side, on that area, because it's like the first part of Mexico where you come in when
Sure.
you're flying from that part. And what I can tell is a great food, a lot of lifestyle and nightlife and luxury developments.
Mhm.
It is growing a lot in terms of in luxury as well. You can find like one of the most luxurious properties in the country are located in Cancun. So,
Fantastic.
but also the market is balanced, right? Yeah, so you can
And
have.
correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't they also now doing new condo developments north of Cancun, kind of towards Puerto Marquez?
I believe I can't remember, but yeah, now it's growing north
Right.
from
It's kind of by where the terminal is to go to to Islas Mujeres from Cancun.
uh,
In that northern region, I know that there's a lot of new condo developments that are being built as well. They're
correct.
calling it like the new Cancun, if you will.
It is all over the place. It's we have a lot of land on that territory still, and it's all beautiful. The beaches on that part of the country are just crystal clear. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of Mayan vestiges and archaeological sites and cenotes, and it's just magical what you can
Oh
find.
yeah, Cancun for me is my top rated. So I know that Playa del Carmen Cancun will offer a lot of options to people that might be thinking about moving or investing in Mexico. Let's talk about number two, Tulum, the coastal gem, right? A
Right.
location that is just exploded over the last 2 or 3 years. Tell us a little bit about Tulum and what's going on down there.
Tulum is the hottest market in Mexico right now. It's that simple. It's receiving a lot of attention from the government, which means they're developing a lot. We just inaugurated. Is that correct? We
Yeah,
just
that's
opened
right.
up a new airport that doesn't land in Cancun, but lands
Right,
15
right
minutes
in
from
Tulum.
Tulum, right in Tulum, and the type of brands and developments that are arriving to a little town. It's unbelievable. It's just a very little town that was forsaken, I'm going to say badly, but then it was discovered, and now we can see one of the the best brands all around the world bringing their services to Tulum.
Without a
Music.
doubt, I know
Mhm.
without a doubt, I've seen hotels pop up, just lifestyle,
Restaurants,
very
bars,
yeah,
everything.
so much development. Tulum is definitely growing, and as you mentioned, there's so many developments. The actual opening of the new airport in Tulum is going to be a huge impact economically to the area, just because if most people don't know that haven't visited that region, Tulum is about an hour and 45 minutes away from
From
Cancun
Cancun.
airport. So it's kind of a distance. So this you're talking about a little bit more convenience, right? A little bit more direct flights, less time spent on travel and drive. You're there in a matter of minutes, and you're basically living in the jungle because it has so much natural resources, and it's a beautiful place. So Tulum, I'm seeing a lot of condos.
It's right on the heart of where the Magyans live as well. We have some amazing ruins right there on the cliff. I know we've all seen those pictures, right? But being there, so culture also
Absolutely,
plays a big role.
absolutely. Let's talk about one of the old guards, right? Puerto Vallarta in Jalisco, Nuevo Nayarit, what we used to call Nuevo Vallarta, which is called Nuevo Nayarit now. I know they just recently changed the name last year. I don't know if they didn't want to have an association with Puerto Vallarta, or they just wanted to distinct themselves from each other, because a lot of times we were thinking it was the same place, but it's
Yeah, but
really
it's not. They're actually different states. One,
correct.
Puerto Vallarta is on the state of Jalisco, in Nuevo Nayarit, it's on the state of Nayarit.
Correct.
So they collide, but they work together. Yeah, but there's two different things.
Yeah, they're two different locations, but the interesting thing is that both locations are serviced by the airport in Puerto Vallarta, because Nuevo Nayarit is from the airport is a good 10-minute drive just across the river, and
Right.
then all of a sudden you're in Nuevo Nayarit that leads you over to what is it? What's those two little towns? Sayulita and
Sayulita, Bucerías. Well, Bucerías is more in Vallarta, but
Vallarta, but
Rincón de Guayabitos,
Guayabitos, and then Punta Mita. Punta
Punta
Mita is for those of you that are not aware of Punta Mita, it's a huge luxurious area. I mean, you've got a Four Seasons there, you have private residences, a lot of wealthy and well-to-do entertainers, musicians own private properties in Punta Mita. So all part of Nuevo Nayarit, or what we call Nayarit in general. And of course, Puerto Vallarta, beautiful marinas, beautiful condominium developments. And if you travel south from there, you find beautiful little towns and coves that are also developing new residences, new gated communities, and new condos, right?
Exactly. And you can find, what is beautiful about that region for me is that of course, you can be on the main city in Vallarta and going to this all luxurious, restaurants and hotels and neighborhoods as Punta Mita. But if you travel 30 minutes south, as you say, you can find like virgin beaches
Yes.
in very small towns with a
Yes.
little palapa where you can have a fried, well, not fried, like
The grill, on the grill. La
real
parrilla.
fish, and yeah, so the ease that you have in order to live both different environments is
It's
just
super easy.
amazing.
I know Sayulita is really well known for a retirement community. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
Sayulita is growing a lot.
Oh yeah,
I was in Sayulita with like maybe 8 months ago, and I was amazed. I was amazed for how much is growing as well, and just
absolutely.
developing a lot. There's a lot of people investing in it. So yeah, it's great. It's incredible to see that little town. It's alive 24/7. It never sleeps
Absolutely.
on a good way, right? On
You
a
know,
good.
since you mentioned that it's growing so much, Sayulita, one of the concerns that maybe many people might have is infrastructure. Like, what is Mexico and the government doing in order to expand their infrastructure? Because I think that's important to know, right?
Yes, it is, and I have to be honest here. Unfortunately, sometimes our government don't do like the proper prepare. They don't prepare correct in terms of infrastructure. So, but they are doing it now in these new markets that are like emerging. So, like Sayulita, for example. Although if you go to Sayulita you can see that it's part of the culture not to drive a car, but and everybody's around like in
Yes.
golf carts,
Right.
the old
And
golf
golf
carts,
carts, bicycles. It's almost a very
bicycles.
bohemian atmosphere
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we find ways to make it great.
Make it work. Wonderful. So let's move on to another destination that's many people are aware of, but maybe we don't talk about enough, and that's Guanajuato and San Miguel de Allende, right? Other couple destinations that are huge attractions to retirees, Europeans, expats that are looking for a little more colonial feel to their retirement, a little quieter, and then probably a little bit more um, old in terms of traditional towns, right?
Exactly. You said it correctly. Guanajuato and San Miguel de Allende are more colonial. Of course, this is on the heart of Mexico's history. Where everything happened.
Right.
In Pipila in Guanajuato and everything. So you can learn a lot from the heritage and from Mexico in these types of markets, which is very different, and in some ways to a beach town, for example. But you do have amazing opportunities to also enjoy in these parts of
Absolutely. I think Guanajuato and San Miguel de Allende is going to be more subdued, a little quieter, más
yes.
tranquilo, what we say in Spanish, tranquilo,
Mm.
calmer. Certainly a destination that appeals to Europeans. There's a lot of art,
A lot of
gastronomy, a lot of
mhm.
culture in those two towns. You have cobblestone streets, very pretty and picturesque colonial town. So certainly a great destination for
Also,
people to
climate is a little different because it's higher on a
right.
scale, so it's
So it's a
more
little cooler.
cool.
It's a little cooler at times. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's not forget another popular destination that offers a lot for people is Baja California Sur, right? You're talking about San Jose
Cabo.
del Cabo, Cabo
Uh-huh.
San Lucas, La Paz, Todos Santos, another little retirement community that's just exploding. Tell us a little bit about Baja California Sur and in terms of what real estate and the community culture of that area.
Well, what can I tell you about Cabo? We all know about Cabo. It's very well known. Cabo was for many times in the past like a how's it called, like a spring break
Right,
destination or
right,
party destination, but it's no longer the case. Of course, it also Cabo San Lucas, which is like the main part of 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 that area, still has a very strong nightlife.
yes,
And but Cabo also has grown, for example, to what it's one is Cabo San Lucas, and the other was San Jose del Cabo, which is
correct,
all the same complex that is totally different.
right,
That's a lot more luxurious. It's more modern. It has one of the best like hotels in our country, and also the one of the best developments in terms of neighborhoods is over there, Querencia, Palmilla. You can find, you know, stars like Michael Jordan that has
absolutely.
houses over there. So, and it's what I find amazing about Cabo, me
Hmm.
particularly. I live in Mazatlan, so Mazatlan is always in competition with Cabo and with
Oh
Vallarta
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, I
we're in
know it.
the middle. But Cabo has managed to bring a lot of attention and a lot of high net worth individuals, and by offering a lot of nice experiences while being humble. That's something that I like. So you don't see over the top big restaurants that are trying to impress everybody. It's just like the root of the
It's very quaint. I've had
very
the privilege to visit San Jose del Cabo and Cabo San Lucas on many occasions. We always take a yearly fishing trip every September with a group of friends, and we stay in San Jose del Cabo for the same reason that Cabo San Lucas affords you more of a nightlife, more the marinas, a little bit more of a party atmosphere. However, there are developments that have grown, mansions, homes that are Airbnb. Airbnb has had a huge impact in destinations in Mexico, specifically in Cabo, right? Tulum,
right.
Cancun, Cabo are probably the top three destinations of Airbnb or VRBO. But I think it's good to note that San Jose del Cabo, in the times I've gone, it's quaint, luxury properties, tons of beautiful golf courses, right? The
Right.
gastronomy there, and also let's also talk a little bit about the weather and the landscape, right? You have this beautiful desert with saguaro,
Desert.
desert, so, the most beautiful uh, water there. It's you got to be careful though because you can't really swim in those waters. There's a couple beaches you can go to, but you, tread with caution because
Well, you have different seas actually in the same. You can be in a peninsula where you have the Mar de Cortés on one side and the
Pacific Ocean on the other.
Pacific Ocean on the other, and they collide in front of you. So
Yeah,
you can
it's
go to
beautiful.
this one, but be careful on that one. But yeah, you mentioned something really important: fishing. Sport fishing. It's incredible in Cabo.
For those that don't know, there's an annual tournament called the Bisbee Tournament that attracts all kinds of corporations, from, fishing poles, fishing rods, yachts, boats, industries. And this is $1 million tournament to get the heaviest and largest blue marlin, right? The blue marlin tournament. And it brings droves, hundreds of thousands of people into the Cabo area every October. So if you haven't experienced, I recommend it. May not be the best week to go if you're looking for quiet and peace because there's a lot of people. But I tell you, Cabo and Baja California Sur, let's talk about La Paz. Oh my gosh, La Paz.
La Paz is
beaches. It's amazing.
La Paz is one of the most beautiful beaches that I've ever been. You have Playa
agree with you more.
Yeah, you have Playa Balandra over there, for example. That it's a very long, shallow beach.
I've been there, bro. I've been there. I actually walked there for it was like a 10-minute walk, and the water was to my knees, and it was like temperature warm. I mean, a beautiful beach.
Super clear. You can see fish and mantarrayas.
Yeah, manta rays.
Yeah, manta rays and everything over there. So it's 2 hours from Cabo, but it's completely different.
Yeah, absolutely, totally different. A little bit more colonial, beautiful coastal town. They have a really good, they have their malecon, or their boardwalk, right? With tons of restaurants, a beautiful marina as well. La Paz is definitely a destination that people should look into and can probably find beautiful homes and condos that they could purchase affordably versus Cabo. Cabo is definitely a little bit more expensive. I think Cabo is probably like what we call the playground of California, right? A lot of people fly in 3 hours and they're like in heaven.
One of the most expensive places in Mexico right now, it's Cabo.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's Todos Santos. Todos Santos is a small little community, has a ton of culture in terms of art, food, also kind of a retirement community, very quiet. It's in between La Paz and Cabo, San Jose del Cabo. So if you're looking for quiet, but you're looking for warm weather, I guarantee you'll find something beautiful in Todos Santos.
Exactly. Great food as well.
I'm sorry?
Great food as well, everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just so different, the type of cuisine that you can find, for example, in Cancun and Cabo, Todos Santos. That's a lot more traditional. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. Well, we can't say enough about Baja California Sur without mentioning Baja California Norte, right? There's communities like in Ensenada, Valle de Guadalupe, which is like, a vineyard valley, which competes a lot with Temecula here in our local market, right? I've been to Valle de Guadalupe. I got to tell you, hands down, the food, the culture, the people, the atmosphere, very tranquil, beautiful landscapes, and a ton of real estate opportunities developing in Valle de Guadalupe.
And the opportunity to see and to go and visit like the vineyards and see how they make the wines, these great places where you can actually taste it and experience it. It's incredible.
And in Valle de Guadalupe, I've noticed that they are doing some real estate development. It's very, very controlled because they want to maintain its quaintness. They want to maintain its quietness, but they do want to expose it. But at the same time, I'm seeing a ton of large vineyards, ton of great restaurants, ton of great places for people to stay, tons of Airbnb opportunities, bed and breakfasts that are beautiful there. Let's talk a little bit of San Felipe, an old town, little coastal town that's continuing to grow. I don't know. I know this. I know you know this, but San Felipe was incorporated into a city, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, where before it was kind of a little bit of a county or a city within what we call Mexicali. So a lot of the tax dollars that were being generated in San Felipe were going to Mexicali, and they weren't coming back, right?
They were coming back, yeah. So now, I've never been to San Felipe, to be quite honest, and that's something I do regret. So I'm gonna have to make a trip over there.
Yeah, San Felipe is like a little quaint town, probably about an hour and a half away from the Mexicali border with Calexico, a destination where people like to do off-roading and things of that nature. Real estate development wise, it's grown from its infancy. I've been visiting San Felipe now for like 30 years. Certainly not as big as Puerto Peñasco, which we'll talk about a little bit, but certainly a really nice town that you can go to, enjoy some camping, some off-roading, some fishing. The water is nice and warm. cool little, boardwalk town. But San Felipe is also a great growing town. And Tecate. Let's talk about Tecate, right?
Yeah, Tecate in Rosarito, Rosarito being the beach of that, the preferred beach of that,
Right.
that state. Real estate really impressed me on Rosarito every time I looked at it. And I can see these beautiful houses, hometowns, and right on the beach,
Yep.
which is not that common. For example, here in Mazatlan, we have in the entire city, we have only 60 properties, houses that are on the beach.
Right.
So
I think that there's a reason for that, though. I think that the fact that the beach for Rosarito is the Pacific coast, and I think for Mazatlan it's mainly Pacific and also a little bit of Sea of Cortez. There's a little bit different currents that affect the coastal lines there, and so Rosarito does have a lot of beach properties. I would tell you that my experience with Rosarito since the mid '90s, I know that it's gone through a huge real estate growth from past times where there were some legal challenges with property that you don't see anymore, right? But now you drive down to Rosarito and there's huge developments just north of the highway, some close to the beach, and some continual development. So Rosarito is definitely and it's close to San Diego. I mean, you're talking about
really close.
A 45-minute drive from the border of San Diego to Rosarito, right? Great food. It has what's the lobster town called? Se me olvida.
The lobster town.
Yeah, they have a little lobster town. It's called
La Rumorosa? No. This is the magical town.
We're always saying we're gonna go to it, but it'll come to me right now. But they have a little lobster town in Rosarito, just south of Rosarito. People go there all the time. They get lobsters and frijoles. They have mariachi and a cool little plaza there. I know it's a favorite destination of us, like LA and San Diego people to go to. So I know Baja California does offer some great properties, some great options. Let's not forget, one of the old guards too is Mazatlan, Sonora Mazatlan, where you live, right?
Yeah, Mazatlan is the best city in the entire world. I have to say that.
Somehow I feel like you're being biased. So there it is. My friend reminded me. Se llama Puerto Nuevo. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Puerto Nuevo is a little lobster town that we like to go to in Rosarito. That's amazing.
Never been. I'm gonna have to go.
You're gonna have to come. Well, Mazatlan is I know Puerto Peñasco is also a huge destination for people that live in Arizona. We kind of call it the Arizona's beach, right? It's a good 4.5 hour drive from either Tucson or Phoenix to Puerto Peñasco. It's in the Sea of Cortez, directly across where San Felipe is Puerto Peñasco. And it's been a growing town. There's townhomes there. There's Grupo Vidanta has a tower there. Some hotels are there. It's got a beautiful marina as well. Some great properties that some owners have built. It's a small little town, but it's growing.
The community is so strong in Puerto Peñasco, and in San Carlos as well. The community that's already built, from expats and Canadians, Americans over there. It's amazing.
Yeah. And San Carlos, tell me a little bit of San Carlos. I haven't visited San Carlos, but I know it's a marina town. They have a lot of yachts and boats and a lot of nice developments as well. So tell me a little bit of San Carlos. I'm not familiar with San Carlos too much.
San Carlos is close to, what's this main city that is, sorry. Give me just 1 second.
Hermosillo, no?
Hermosillo, yes. It's very close to Hermosillo, and it's the beach destination of Hermosillo as well. So in Hermosillo, we have a lot of industry. We have a lot of, commerce and everything. So we had a very strong investment into San Carlos, and it's amazing.
Would you say that San Carlos also attracts foreigners, or is it mainly like more national?
It does. It attracts neighbors as well. Yeah, as well, very close, similar to Puerto Peñasco in the sense of being, a small community. It's very colonial as well. San Carlos has a lot of history on that town. Awesome. Mazatlan is on Sinaloa, though. Just to make the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sinaloa. I put it in Sonora. My bad.
But we're neighbors.
Yeah, you guys are neighbors, vecinos. and then we can't not speak about Mérida and Yucatan, right? Yucatan is experiencing right now, there seems to be a movement towards colonial, right?
Correct.
Original, colonial, quiet, kind of a throwback to culture and art, gastronomy, right? And what better place than Mérida? Their climate is beautiful as well. Tell us a little bit about Mérida and Yucatan. What are you seeing in terms of real estate development and what it offers
Well, Merida, I believe 2022 and 2023, they were awarded like the safest place in Latin America, safest city, Merida.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's growing a lot. It's very strong. As you said, it's a lot more colonial. It has a deep culture on Merida from Yucatan, of course. And there's a lot around it. There's a lot around Merida that you can visit. The beach is really close. You have wonderful lakes, mountains, and the jungle, and also as well we're talking about the peninsula. So you have a lot of archaeological sites and prehistoric vestiges as well. It's very
Awesome.
beautiful.
Awesome.
It's been a while since I'm in Merida, and I've been talking for the past year and a half that I have to go and I have to go. But I've never, I haven't come back, but I have to go back.
You know what? I was talking to one of our agents, Vicente Herrera, from the Yucatan area a couple of weeks ago. He had shown and demonstrated a couple developments, some condo towers, some gated communities, and I spoke to him last week as well. Great options that are available. Starting in the low, I would say like in the low 200s and upwards, right? It even affords even $1 million properties for people. So there's a vast majority of choices in Merida, but I think Mexico in itself throughout has so many choices for people depending on what they're looking for. Certainly,
Yes.
we can, as EXP and EXP Realty Mexico, we can definitely put you in touch with the right agent depending on the destination. Maybe we can visit 2 or 3 communities. But one of the things that I recently found is I talked to the CEO of a company called SoBankable.com, Brian Menges. I just interviewed with him last Friday. An amazing Canadian-owned mortgage company who's actually financing the purchase of properties in Mexico and many of these destinations that you and I talked about today, right? And I think
Right.
sometimes sorry about that. It looks like we lost him, but wanted to kind of offer you all the opportunity to maybe leverage a purchase of a property in Mexico that you can afford with only 30% down. So you no longer have to go over there, do an all cash investment on a new construction or even maybe a resale property. You can leverage your purchase with a mortgage from a Canadian lender. Looks like we've got Ismael back.
I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button.
That's okay. It happens. So I was just telling them a little bit about So Bankable, that they offer mortgage products to Americans and Canadians with 30% down. They have
Wow.
different loan terms available, and they actually have a program where they can finance the purchase in new developments as well. So, for example, if you go into a condo or a gated community and say, hey, it's going to be delivered, in 2025 or 2026, you can put a deposit. They'll finance the difference for you, right? And then you won't start making a payment until they actually deliver the property for you.
Nice.
We're also working on some financing options for developers themselves, so that, because here in Mexico, what happens is when you buy a condo development or a new construction development, you have to put a deposit, and then when they deliver it to you, you have to pay off the whole amount. So maybe that's a little restrictive for you who's thinking about making a move to Mexico, and you don't have 200,000 or 300,000 or 400,000, but you have 150,000 or 100,000. Well, guess what? Now you can finance that purchase. You can make your dreams a reality through soulbankable.com. Just reach out to us if you're interested. You can ask us how. We'll put you in touch with them. I'm going to introduce them to my friend here, Ismael, also because I think that you and I together, Ismael, can introduce them to many developers and many realtors throughout Mexico, where we can bring more clients to them as well.
Perfect. It's great. We have this a lot. A lot of investors from U.S., Canada, and other parts of the world that wants to finance. And there's not always like an option for them that fits their needs. So I'm happy to hear that you have this partnership with So Bankable. So there's always good. If you could introduce me, I'll be more than happy to extend that to all of our clients as well.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do so, Ismael. We've come to the conclusion of today's live stream. Can't thank you enough for your time. I'm super excited about EXP Realty in Mexico and all the different types of properties that we can maybe provide for our clients here in the United States. I service personally the Southern California market, all of California. I'm licensed in California. But if you live in Texas, Florida, North or South Carolina, anywhere in the United States or Canada, we can put you in touch with an actual professional real estate agent in Mexico through Ismael Gonzalez and myself. Please reach out to us. I appreciate Ismael. Any closing remarks before we go?
No, just thank you again, Hector. Having this conversation has opened my eyes on the greatness of our country and the diversity that we have, and I just have the urge to start traveling, to start visiting again.
Hey, well, give me a call and book a ticket for me too, right?
Let's do it together. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful, and it's great to be able to, offer this to our fellow, friends and family like you and anybody who wants to consider us as a destination.
Well, Ismael, I can't thank you enough, man. Once again, this has been another edition of Foreign Investment Fridays. I'm Hector Aguilar with eXp Realty, and we'll see you next time on our channel. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ismael.